Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. I hope we're all getting logged on. Happy Wednesday. I'm ready for questions. I know everybody's got them. I'm still letting people in. So if we want to go ahead and answer some questions, I can do that.
I have a quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
Look, let's say a tenant is late paying for January, and then comes February, she's going to pay one time, but she already has incurred a late fee of $50 for January. Now, in February, if she paid, do I credit January? And if I do so, she's going to incur another late fee for February. Or how do I handle that? I'm not talking about the COVID time. I'm talking about in general.
In general, you would apply the incoming rents to the most delinquent balance.
Okay, but then that will cause a new late fee occurring for the following month.
Exactly.
So then she's going to have, he or she's going to have two late fees.
Exactly.
Okay, I just want to make sure it is okay to do that.
Yes, I've been doing my accounting that way for over 3 decades, sir.
Thank you, Patty.
No problem. It's a way for us as landlords to recoup our expenses on those late fees because there's a past due balance. We can charge a late fee on the foregoing month.
Thank you, Patty.
Not a problem. Hey, I'm here to help you guys as much as I can with my brain today. Anybody else have a question?
How have judges been deciding if a tenant claims bankruptcy and they can't pay the 6 or 8 months rent that they've not been paying because they claim COVID, but of course, you know, it's a fraud because she's still continuing to work, etc. But can she claim bankruptcy and then get all that $20,000 that she owes us expunged or whatever you call it? Yeah.
Yes, unless you go to the bankruptcy court hearing and explain to the judge that what this is causing you, and then the judge will make a decision.
Are you aware of any decisions like that that have been made recently?
No, I am not.
Okay.
And I'm being straightforward with you. I will tell you, I've only seen, and this is weird, because before COVID, we saw quite a bit of bankruptcy. I mean, it happened, you know, I would say 30%, maybe, no, not that much. Maybe 10% of all the cases that we litigate throughout the whole year, maybe 10% of those filed bankruptcy. During COVID, we didn't see a lot of bankruptcy things come in, and I'll be honest, we still don't. So I know it's coming. I know it's coming, but it isn't affecting us yet. Okay, and then I saw some questions come through, so let me go get those. Can we charge late fees in LARSO in particular? No. Can I raise the rent now? I have not raised the rent in the last 4 years. In what city, Victor? Or what county? Let me try that. Please explain so payment goes to latest rent due like April and charge a late fee for March, February, and January. Okay, Teresa, I'll get more into detail on the late fee. Sherman Oaks, you're in LA? No, do not raise rents in LA County. And that's me talking to you, okay? There's, if you're gonna raise the rent, you're poking a bear, okay? And I'll leave the statement at that. In LA County, even not under RSO, okay? Any incorporated city, you could possibly do a rent increase if the tenant wasn't affected at all by the pandemic, meaning they weren't late once. Then you possibly could increase the rents. If they're in an unincorporated city of LA County, you absolutely cannot increase rents. Those unincorporated cities are on a rent freeze until January 1st. Okay. In LA County in general, I'd be very cautious raising the rents right now. In general, just because everything is so heavily litigated. When can I raise the rent? In LA County? Because I'll tell you right now, in every county but LA, you can raise rents April Fool's Day. That's in 7 days, folks. Please explain so payment paid goes to the last rent due like April charge. Okay, so let me explain to you, and I don't have a piece of paper and I'm letting people in, so work with me, okay? So let's keep it simple for accounting purposes. Let's say that my rents are January, February, and March, okay? And the tenant paid partial in January, but they didn't pay the full month rent. They didn't pay anything in February, and now they're standing here to pay me the full month of rent for March. If they didn't specify on their check or their statement, I can apply that accounting to their most previous past due balance. And there's a reason of why we apply the incoming funds to the most previous past due balance, okay? So let's say your rent's $1,000. She only paid me $500 for January. So for January, she has a late fee because she didn't pay the whole amount. For February, she has a late fee because she didn't pay anything. And now she's handing me the full $1,000 for March's rent. But I can apply that wherever I want to because she didn't specify this is for March's rent, okay? So now I'm gonna apply the $500 balance to pay off January, and I'm gonna put $500 towards February. She still has a balance due of $500 for February, and now she has a late fee for March because no rent was paid. There's a reason why we do our accounting this way and apply it to the most outstanding past due balance first. And the simple fact is, on a 3-day notice, you can only go back 12 months. Got it? So when we're evicting for non-payment of rent, we can only go back 12 months. So if you bypass it and apply it on the month it was received going forward, and they didn't pay you way back in December 3 years ago, you can't evict them for it. Paying attention? It can't go on a 3-day notice. So how do you evict them for that money owed? So again, we're speaking non-COVID time, because during the protected period and the transitional period of COVID, you had to apply the money coming in the month it was received, and then going forward, it couldn't go to any back past due balance. Okay, but that was just for the transitional period and the protected period, and we are back to business as normal as far as our accounting records go. Okay, and I saw more questions, so hang on. Diana, can we do new rental agreements with a higher rent on existing tenants in LA County? I love you guys for trying to think outside of the box. Okay. No, you cannot increase the rents. It's retaliatory is how it's written in the law. And if you want a retaliation lawsuit against you, you go ahead and raise those rents. Both parties are agreeing to new terms with new people added to the lease. Then you might have a little bit more wiggle room because you're starting a new agreement under new terms with new occupants. That's the caveat there, okay? So if you have a tenant coming in, I'm gonna tell you to call your legal counsel and verify that you can have them sign a new contract under new terms because you have a change in tenants, okay? There's a big thing there. If I rent a home in LA and I let them stay past the 12-month term, then these tenants are in California rent control law. It's called the TPA, it's the Tenant Protection Act. If I ask them to move after the 12 months, do I have to pay them a relocation fee? Absolutely, and that's 1 month's rent. Got that? And you have to have cause. If you don't have cause, then you have to pay relocation fees. Does anybody else have something?
You confused me about something you said. You said if the tenant doesn't mention apply this for March, then you can apply it to the month before. But what if she says, no, apply it to March? Then what's gonna happen with that February rent, for example, pending? What we gonna do about
She
that?
can't tell you where to apply the money. The only way that comes in place is how the money's tendered. And I'll give you an example. If she gives you a check and in the memo section of the check, she writes for March's rent, you are forced to apply that to March's rent unless you have a paragraph in your rental contract explaining your accounting process. So,
Go
and
over it
I
one more
want to
time. Repeat
say
what
that
you
that
said.
term of the lease reads something like this. Regardless to when funds are tendered for rent, they are applied to the most previous past due balance first.
Okay, well, I don't think anywhere in my lease says such a thing.
Okay, it's an industry standard, it's not the law, and it's just the better business practice. And if you need verbiage like that for your lease, I'd be more than happy to help provide that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Not a problem, anytime. We're getting our teeth back, you guys. I'm so excited. All right, does anybody else have questions? You guys ask them, pick my brain while you got me.
We're just confirming, the sisters are confirming that we don't have
Hi,
the gold,
sisters.
we don't have the golden ticket anymore.
I don't have a golden ticket for you yet. I have a whole team of attorneys actually sitting in a meeting right now talking about your case and another case that I have with similar like for like issues where the tenants aren't allowing access. And just because everybody else in the meeting is now going, wait, what's going on? Some people, especially in LA City, and I'm speaking very broadly, for lack of a better way to explain it, are being held hostage by their investment property. Right? Can I say it any other way? How
And
it's
the tenant is perpetrating a fraud because she doesn't qualify for COVID relief.
it is a nightmare. And when you got to get a whole team of attorneys to sit together in one room and come up with a plan of action that's solid, so the exposure isn't there, the retaliatory issues aren't there, it's quite challenging. I'll give you someone else's example because I know for a fact they're not in this meeting and I don't want to do that to you. My sisters, I love and respect all of my clients. So I'll give you guys just a little bit of a similar situation so you understand what's going on and what we're talking about. Have a house in the city of LA, single family residence. There was a fire in the property a year ago, tenant caused from a faulty electrical, it was their extension cord, and then they had a space heater plugged into it. It's something else. It fried it. It started a fire in the property. Tenant caused. Okay. Then code enforcement tagged the property, and the tenants refused to allow entry because it's in LA City. They did that. Unfortunately, the landlords weren't aware of what they could and couldn't do. Even the insurance adjuster had to write on their claim that they can't gain access to the property. The tenant is extremely hostile. So it puts us as landlords in a position where we're being held hostage by our own investments. And when the legal team can't do anything to help you, it's quite frustrating. I mean, I'm dumbfounded about the bureaucracy and the bullshit that is happening so that these landlords are getting forced out of their property. It's ridiculous. And don't get me started on the on the whole COVID protection, blah, 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 because I've had enough of it. This needs to come to an end. Even the CDC says it's not a threat to us anymore. I missed the first 5 meetings of this meeting, 5 minutes. You mentioned we are getting our teeth back. I got you. You can always watch the replay, you guys, on my YouTube channel, just so you know. And Val, I'll get to you in a second. Hang on. We are getting our teeth back in all counties on April 1st, except for LA. Los Angeles County is the only county that has extended tenant protections for their tenants till the end of the year. They are currently, and I say they, AGLA, the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, currently has several lawsuits against the state of California, the county of Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles, the mayor's office. I mean, it's going on, okay? If you want to know more about that, check with AGLA. And if you're in a position where you want your voice to be heard, you can donate to their PAC fund. It's the political advocate fund that they have. And then let me go back and answer Val's question. What if the tenant always writes rent for the current month on the check? How would you ever get the late fees? If they write it's for the current month, then you need that paragraph in your lease that basically states all incoming payments will be applied to the most previous past due balance first. Ooh, that was the verbiage. I hope you guys grabbed a hold of that. Doesn't always flow out of my mouth. You know, there's a lot of stuff in this little blonde area. If someone rents a room, I hope I answered that for you, Val, on how to get the late fees. If someone rents a room in a single family home and the owner does not live there, and the tenant lives there past the 12-month period, will this renter also have the protection of the California state rent control when they can use owner caused move-in and pay? If someone rents a room in a single family home, here comes my question. Is there another tenant in there renting a room and another tenant in there renting another room? In other words, I almost said a brothel, but I know that's not what it is. In LA County, I'm going to tell you right now, they'll most likely look at that you're running a business and consider that multifamily because the owner is not in possession. And that's just LA County.
Is family income, is that what's considered the income of the family, or is it just one person's income that is calculated when you talk about household income?
It would be the income of the household, the same way they applied for the property. If
So
they
all-
applied as a pair, then they're considered a pair. If they qualified as a pair, then they're a pair.
But what about adult children that are now earning money?
Were they minors when you rented to them and they became adults?
Yes.
Okay, so they're now financially responsible for that lease contract as well.
Okay, good. Thank you. Some good news today. Thank you.
Even if
Name
they're in-
everybody. You always want to name everybody you can.
Well, they're
and then
named, they're named
you
in
can-
the lease as occupants, but now they're over 18.
Right, so now they're adults and they're in possession of, and they're tenants there because they're adults. So you want to name everybody on the notice, name everybody on the lawsuit. If you have to dismiss in court, then you can dismiss individually in court if that arises. Just don't name minors. It causes a whole nother problem, you guys, you don't want any part of, okay? Yeah, it could be a tenant subletting thing. That's always an issue. Just so you guys know, when a tenant sublets, it becomes extremely difficult to do an eviction. It is possible, but basically it becomes subleasee and sublessor. Okay, so the tenant, the main tenant that is subbing out the other property becomes the landlord, so to speak. in a landlord-tenant litigation dispute, but it's not landlord-tenant, it's now subleasee and sublessor. And I said that backwards because the OR is the position of power. The EE is not, like mortgagor, mortgagee. Make sense? I'm trying, you guys. There's a little bit of real estate for you. Okay, let me go back to what we're talking about because I don't need to be teaching a real estate class today. It's not LA County. So these individuals renting a single family home have the renters have protection from the Tenant Protection Act. If you're not in LA County and you've disclosed that the property is exempt from the TPA, then they're exempt, meaning you don't have to follow any of those rules. So if they're renting a single family home and they have the Tenant Protection Act. My question becomes, how do they have the Tenant Protection Act? How is title held? Is there more than one dwelling on one parcel? Explain to me. So if you have one home sitting on one tax bill and one tenant in there, it now depends on how you hold title, whether or not you're exempt from statewide rent control. If you hold title as an individual in a living trust, a family trust, as a married couple, you're most likely exempt. If you're exempt, then you're exempt. You need to notify the tenant that you're exempt so that they don't think that they're going to get relocation fees, that there's a cap amount on their rents. You need to notify them. It's that simple. Can you clarify LA City single family residence 12-month lease expires? Can you not renew? They moved in November 2021. No, you can't. It'll go to a month to month. Who asked me that? I think it's, Arlene. It'll go to a month to month because you still can't terminate tenancy by November 2021 unless you have cause because you're in LA City. LA City not under RSO, built in 2004, no COVID claimed yet. So reasons to evict are one, health and safety violations, like they move smoke detectors, CO2 detectors, Doug's Drugs, collects drunk, common. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, Teresa. Tenant refuses entry, doesn't start until June 1st in LA. Okay, so in LA, just so you guys know, phase 1 starts June 1. I believe I don't have my little cheat sheet in here. Okay. Starting June 1st in LA County and LA City, you should be able to, and the key word there was should, because the rules can change by then. Come on, you guys. Have you not been following me and paying attention? The rules change when the wind blows. Just saying. As it sits right now, we get our teeth back on June 1st regarding unauthorized occupants, unauthorized pets, and also failure to allow entry. We will be able to do evictions for those reasons, but we need to serve those notices on June 1st for unauthorized occupants, unauthorized pets. And I forgot the other one already. Hold on. Unauthorized occupants, unauthorized pets, and failure to allow entry. And that's on June 1st.
What about abandonment?
What about abandonment? Abandonment means they're gone. There's no utilities. They have no further interest in the property. They're not there. They are gone. That is the official definition of abandonment.
Okay, yeah, she's not totally gone.
When they keep showing back up just to be a thorn in our side and hold our properties hostage against us based on the rules, it's not abandonment. Damn it. I wish it was. What
And
about?
why isn't it elder abuse? Why isn't it elder abuse? It's still a
Um,
contract.
I understand that, and that's part of what I have the legal staff looking in today.
Thank you.
Not a problem. I heard you. It resonated with me. It stuck, and that's now another caveat I threw at them. And again, they are over my pay grade. All I can do is give them ammunition and hope and pray that they're willing to argue it. When minors become adults still living at home, should I add their names on the rental agreement or do a new one? You can. Do we need a new lease when children become adults during the lease period? They haven't signed the lease because they were not adults at the time of signing the lease. You can do that going forward as they become adults and tell them that you need to do addendum to the rental contract, and you can add them that way. Okay. You don't necessarily need to sign a new lease contract is what I'm saying. You could do an addendum or even a 30-day notice of change of terms, but you're not really changing terms. You're adding an occupant as a leasee, so it would most likely be an addendum. Have you heard, or what are your thoughts? Oh, you want to ask my thoughts? Do you really want to do that? About the proposed California Speculation Act. Oh God, AB 1771, the California flip tax. Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're trying to tax us working folks that are paying our bills even more, and they're not attacking the people that aren't paying their bills, are sitting on their butts and spending our hard-earned money. Let's face it. Again, I have to remember I need to not be that way, but I am very angry about people taking advantage of the system, especially when it's forcing us financial difficulties. I don't think that any landlord should suffer financial difficulties and not be able to do anything in the justice system about it. That is where I get frustrated. You said that a single family home could be exempt from the TPA tenant protections, depending on how they hold title. Absolutely. It depends on how they hold title. If a corporation is attached to title at all in any way, you have the Tenant Protection Act. Period of end of story. They are trying to include LLCs in that. Okay. Currently, it says if an LLC has a member that's a corporation, then it has the Tenant Protection Act. They're trying to add LLCs in general because an LLC is a business. Ding, did that click? So they are trying to add LLCs to the Tenant Protection Act. So for those of us that hold our property in an LLC, we may want to take that into consideration that going forward, they may change the law on us to include LLCs and treat them like a corporation. Okay. An addendum, it would just be an addendum, and on the addendum, it would be that, and give me a second. So you have your blank addendum, you put at the top the tenant's names, the address of the property, and what your addendum is you're changing the Sally J. Smith from an additional occupant to a leaseholder as she's become of age. Did that work? How would they hold title if TPA is not exempt? In a corporation or an LLC where a corporation is one of the members of the LLC. And that's only on a single family residence, okay? What if the leasee refuses to sign the addendum? It says amendment, but that's not what it is. It's an addendum, okay? Adding adult children to the lease. Then they refuse to sign. You can't force them to, but I'm telling you, because that person became an adult, you can name them on the notices and in the lease and in any eviction you do and pursue them in collections if a debt is left behind.
Right.
Again, I'll say this. I love this. Okay, we can hear you giggling. Everyone can hear you giggling. So an attorney once said to me, Patty, we can name everybody. We want to name everybody we can. And if we have to, when we get to court and dismiss them, then we'll dismiss that person. But the more people that we name, the more teeth we have to go after them in collections and the collection process. Okay. So just another tip and trick there. LA City senior abuse. Oh God. The landlord over 65 years old that is permitted, is that permitted for eviction? Physical abuse, called me an old crippled hag on the property. Can we record without permission? You can record somebody without permission, but you can't use it in a court of law without their permission. Make sense? And here's the big one on you. So pay attention. Okay. If you have surveillance, and notice I didn't say security, you never want to use that word, security cameras. You want to use surveillance cameras. If you call them security cameras, it can bite you, and it can bite you hard, because the tenant can then say that you're not actually providing security. No one's monitoring these cameras, and that's false advertisement. So they are surveillance cameras because they're just surveying what's going on. Some of those actually have voice recording capabilities. Okay, so if you have that at the property, that may be a good way to catch them, Teresa. And if there's physical abuse going on, call the police every time, you guys, every time. FYI, LA COVID landlord tenant roundtable meeting, 3:31 at 11 a.m. for anyone that wants to contribute with feedback to the meeting. Sorry, I don't know how to repost the flyer. What is this for? Who's putting on the meeting is my question. Is it AGLA? Is it AOA? I'm just asking. I thought LA City single-family residents held in a trust not under state rental control. You can raise rents in November of 2022 and see if they will leave. I'm not going to comment on that because I'm going to try to explain to you like this, okay? When it comes to restrictions, the restriction that restricts you the most controls, okay? So the way that our office looks at it, or our attorneys look at increasing rents in LA County is simple. It goes like this. If you're in the city and the city doesn't have a rule that restricts you, so you can raise rent, then you're governed by the county and the county says you can't. See how that worked? So when it comes to restrictions, the one that actually could control you is the one that controls. So anywhere in LA City, LA County, I wouldn't touch doing a rent increase because it gives the tenant the capability of screaming retaliation. And all they have to do is say they were affected by the pandemic. And I hate to keep saying this, but who wasn't affected by this damn pandemic? Because it's affected all of us in one way, shape, or form. Whether it be financial ruins or financial distress, or it be related to the actual illness. Some people are still suffering from long COVID. Took me about 3 months to get my smell back and my taste back. Okay. TPA, who does it apply to? What is it Googled at? It's called the Tenant Protection Act, Teresa. Okay. TPA, who does it apply to? It's called the Tenant Protection Act. It is basically statewide rent control. Okay. It was implemented in California on January 1st of 2020. We had to notify our tenants if we were exempt. Okay. I think that's what you're asking me, Teresa. Which one camera do you like best? I like the blink cameras versus the ring cameras. The blink cameras are less expensive to operate than ring, and I haven't had any problems with mine. I have some that are motion sensors, some that have night vision. I know it sounds like I have a fortress, but I don't, I promise. And then I also have their doorbell. It's called a Blink, B-L-I-N-K. And I like it because you can link the cameras to your light. So you can get like an exterior light fixture. And not only will a motion light come on, but your camera will also come on at the same time. And I like the Blink cameras because you can talk through them. I like them. Yes.
What exactly makes a property exempt from TPA? Can you please go over it?
Okay, let's look at it this way. And it's me trying to talk to you, okay? When you're dealing with a single family residence, age of the property isn't a factor as much as how title's held. So if you have a single family residence and you have one house on one tax bill, okay, it's not a duplex, you didn't convert the garage, you only have one set of residential tenants in there, and you hold title as an individual, meaning your name, as a married couple, meaning your name and your spouse's name, or in a family trust or in a living trust, you are most likely exempt from the Tenant Protection Act and statewide rent control. The second you put 2 dwellings on one tax bill, and I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a single family house and you build an ADU. Okay, now you have 2 rental properties on one tax bill. If you, the landlord, do not live in one of those units, you have rent control. Now, the accessory dwelling unit has a certificate of occupancy that just happened. So from that date of certificate of occupancy, it doesn't have rent control for 15 years, but your single family residence that's been there forever now has rent control because you put another unit on the property. I hope you guys are paying attention. For 15 years, the ADU does not. The second it hits 15 years and 1 month old on that certificate of occupancy, you have rent control on both units, statewide, Tenant Protection Act, okay? LA County Agla sent the flyer, good. What if the adult children did not give us a COVID rent financial impact statement, only our mother gave it? Can we say the child owes us rent? No, you can try reaching for straws, but let's be honest, okay? We're in California. Okay, all the laws are geared to protect the tenant. And if you guys don't know why we have so many tenant laws in California, ask me. I'd be more than happy to tell you. Why
These
do
are
they?
adult children though, the adult children now.
I understand. I
Okay.
understand. But they're still held as adults and leaseholders on the property. So I would name them.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
If the court says you can't name them, then you just dismiss them. If they're a minor, it's a whole nother problem. You don't want to name minors on a notice, in an eviction matter, any of that. Don't, bad. Which surveillance camera system does everyone like best without a monthly recording fee, or do you have to pay to play? Which one is best? I like the Blink cameras. I think I explained the why. I like that you can talk through them. So had somebody walking across the front of our property, didn't think anything about it. And then they walked back, didn't think anything about it. And they came back a third time. So yelled out the cameras, "Hi, can I help you?" Nope, just going for a walk. Okay, great. In other words, I see you, don't do anything stupid. And that's what I like about them, is that you can communicate to whoever's right through the camera, and it comes on your cell phone. So you get an alert, your camera's going off, you look at it and go that way. For cameras, how do I arrange the Wi-Fi just with an agreeable tenant? Yeah. Here's one for you, Melanie, and it's going to make your mind go, oh God, I didn't think of that. That's what I'm here for. If you have a single family residence, you don't necessarily want to put cameras on the single family residence, right?
Yeah,
But you could put them on the neighbor's house across the street aimed
Oh,
at your property.
aimed.
Yes,
That's a great idea.
I did it with my neighbors, and I didn't have a rental at this particular property, but darn it, the way my house was positioned, I couldn't install a camera so that it could see the front of my property and the side of my property. So what I did is I went across the street and talked to my neighbor and asked her if I could put a camera on her roof aimed at my house. And she said, absolutely, if I can do the same thing. Sure, not a problem. So there's some trading that you can do there. Even if you go talk to some of the neighboring residents when you're dealing with a single family residence, a lot of times the neighbors have cameras and they're like, oh yeah, our cameras see what's going on in their driveway area or whatever. Talk to them. It's a great way to find out. I know, Melanie, boom, mind blown. Just go put the camera on the neighbor's house. Make friends. Works great. Oh, somebody else is trying to get in here. So for those of us that get our teeth back, yay, I'm so excited. I don't know what's going to happen in the courts in neighboring counties. I have a feeling in the very beginning, we'll probably see them be inundated, but they're inundated anyway. I think it's going to be quite challenging for tenants that have been delinquent. Because there's light at the end of the tunnel, you know? The lady in the opera is singing, it's time. We have 7 days and we get our teeth back. So it's a really nice breath of fresh air. LA County, I know, is still a challenge, and AGLA has many lawsuits going. People are trying to come up with ways to combat the new restrictions and continue to attack. And we will continue to do so and try to come up with plans of action for the least amount of resistance. Fair enough. That aren't an arm and a leg. Let's face it, none of us, and I mean none of us, want to get involved in a case law case. They're expensive, they're timely, they're not cost effective, and we don't want to be in those cases. For anybody that's in litigation right now on COVID, please know that you'll most likely come to a settlement agreement. And most likely that settlement agreement will not include rents. It'll include possession. And let's face it, that's what we really want. Stop the bleeding, give us our house back. And then you can always go after them in small claims at a later date when that time arises. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're not seeing too many money judgments being issued in court when we are doing an eviction during the COVID pandemic. So if you're like, I got to get this rent money, go for possession and go after the money later. Get your house back.
What about damages?
Damages, you can do them once they vacate. If they're in possession of the property, it becomes a little bit more challenging.
Okay.
Because, and I'll give you an example. I actually sued somebody in small claims court. Yes, I am that bitch. Why they still lived in my house. You know why? I knew where to find them. So this was several years ago, prior to the new bed bug laws, restrictions, et cetera. Had somebody, single family residents, they brought in bed bugs. It was a bad infestation. The owner had to tent the house, similar to what we do for termites, if you will. And the expense to the landlord was about $4,500. And they had to pay to put the tenant in a hotel while they were gone for that week. So I ended up in a legal battle with them. I did a 3-day curable breach of covenant for them not paying that $4,500. I gave them 30 days to pay it. They still didn't pay me. I filed a small claims action. Actually, I didn't do small claims. I did a 3-day curable breach of covenant and then a quit notice and evicted them for that and got a money judgment right there in court for the $4,500 I had to pay and the rent that they didn't pay during the eviction. It was nice. I'm not gonna lie, it was nice.
All these court cases are virtual, right? I mean, our properties are 500 miles away. So all these, when you have to go to court, it's a virtual visit with the court?
No, we're all back to in-person court appearances for the most part.
What about hardship, elder hardship and 550 miles away from the property?
They're gonna
Still.
tell you to send your property manager.
Okay, so property manager can be our representative.
Only if it states so in your contract with your management company.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Usually in the contract, it says something about them being an agent for the owner and has the right to act on your behalf in legal representation. And the only reason I know this, just so you know, is I was in court once as a regional property manager and the judge asked me if I had authorization to act on the landlord's behalf. And I went, yes, I do, sir. It's in my contract. And he said, where is it? And I went, I don't know. But I handed him the contract. At the time, I didn't know as much as I know now. So I was very intimidated by his question. He actually sat there and found it in the 8-page contract and told me it's on page 6, paragraph H or whatever. He told me where it was and said, yes, we can proceed. And I said, thank you, Your Honor. So you do need to have
signed letter from the property manager that he's able to represent.
That may work in a court of law, but it would have to be signed by the property owners directly. And
Yes.
I would reference him as your agent,
Okay, thank you.
because then they're an agent for the owner.
Good.
Okay. Oh, and somebody typed a question. Let me go fetch that. Sorry. How did you prove they bought the bed bugs in? They were the only people that lived there for 5 years. And if you want to tell me that they lived there for 5 years, for 4 months, sorry, 4 years and 11 months, and they had bed bugs that entire time, I'm going to say no. So an easy way to prove bed bugs, you guys, and this is just a tip and trick out of Patty's arsenal, is at any time, except for in LA County right now, just saying, you can have an exterminator go to the property and give you a certificate stating that the house is bed bug free. It's only good for that day at that time when that inspector was there. You following me? So when the property's vacant, if you get the certificate, that's great. If the tenant's moving in and you have the certificate, it's only good for that day. Why would I spend $150 for it to only be good on that day, Patty?
Because it can be proof later on if you do have the bed bugs that they caused it.
Bingo. Bingo. So $150 expense. Hold on, $150 expense versus a $5,000 repair. You can get the certificate at any time. They can be in possession of your property today, as long as you're not in LA County because of the whole 24-hour notice thing. That's why I said except LA.
So is a pest control company able to certify bed bugs? Pest control does not. We
You need
provide.
to ask them if they're bed bug certified.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. And we used to see a huge problem with bed bugs, and then it kind of died down with COVID a little bit. And now we're starting to see it become a little bit of an issue again. But they're everywhere, you guys. They've been around for decades. Let me just go into my little bed bug talk real quick so everybody's on the same page. Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. I mean, we've all heard it for decades, okay? There's a real thing. They're called bed bugs. The reality is, for years we were killing them with DDT. And then we found out DDT kills us. So the EPA said, no more, can't use that product. So in the meantime, while they were trying to figure out what else they could use that wasn't harmful to us as humans, they ran rampant. They became quite the problem. And now we see them hotels, motels, moving vans, #1 place, just so you guys know. And we have several civil codes that have changed health and safety codes regarding bed bugs, because they are an issue across the nation. It doesn't matter how clean you are, okay? So it has nothing to do with cleanliness. That comes in when you're remedying them. You guys need to understand that if you put your suitcase next to my suitcase on an airplane, and I have bed bugs in my suitcase, they could go get in your suitcase, and now you're taking them home. You could go to the movie theater and sit down in the chair right where somebody sat before you that had bed bugs. And now you have them on your clothes, you take them to your house, and you just infected your house. They are called the hitchhiking bug. They move like ants move. So they go through walls and cracks and crevices just like ants. And I don't have to tell you guys, I know you've chased some ants in your life. Where are they coming from? Exactly. Okay. They spread the same way. Val said, I have a renter that had bed bugs. They hauled some furniture out of an alley. We made them pay for the exterminator, but they paid it. Awesome. Great. Not a problem. I'm just trying to explain to people, you can get it from used furniture and new furniture. And now everybody's going, wait, Patty, how in the heck do you get bed bugs from new furniture? You get bed bugs from new furniture. Hold on, somebody tried to call me. I had to send them away. You get bed bugs from new furniture in the moving van that they deliver the furniture in. Following me? Okay, so Val just bought a new couch and they're gonna come deliver it today. But before they go to Val's house to deliver her their new couch, they stopped at my house to bring me a new entertainment center. And as a courtesy, they hauled away my old entertainment center and put it right next to Val's new couch. So when Val's new couch comes, it's infested with bed bugs because they're in the moving van that they use to deliver the product in. Got it? Doesn't have anything to do with cleanliness. Everybody thinks, oh, they're dirty. No, they go everywhere, you guys. You could bring them home. Okay, no joke. Patty, on a rental agreement that specifies the address of where a resident pays the rent, is it okay to use a drop box address if it allows them 24 hours, 7 days a week to do so? Yes, it absolutely does, but that's not where your problem comes in, Anna. Your problem comes in on a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit and verifying if that was paid in 3 days, because at a Dropbox, you have to put on the 3-day notice that they can pay 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not monitored, so that's where it becomes an issue. Got it? It's not the issue on the lease contract of who they pay the rent to. It becomes an issue later down the road when you're trying to evict them for non-payment of rent. I hope that clicked for you, Anna. Teresa, lastly, LA City, currently, what reasons and conditions can you evict for in LA City? If owner occupied duplex, put non-paying tenant, marijuana marijuana use day and night, at least not sure of what other drugs, who's violent, problem has possession of a separate room and basement, on the variables, conditions, etc. Tenant at will leaves outdoor water hose on that I pay for. Is it a tenancy at will, or you're just saying the tenant at will leaves the water hose on? I got you. Water bill's high. Prove that they're a nuisance. Give me police reports. Give me activity of what's going on there. Got it? In LA City, to prove a nuisance, you need police reports. In LA County, to prove a nuisance, you need police reports. And the problem is, officers know that we need these to do evictions, so they're not. Here, how do I rephrase what I'm trying to say? If everybody in LA County could get an eviction done by filing a restraining order against their tenants, do you know how many restraining orders would be filed? Does that make sense to you? Okay. So now that the police officers know that we need to prove a nuisance, it's harder to get them to do the reports that we need done because there's so many of us landlords inundating them every day. How do they deal with the normal stuff? Got it? Make sense? Okay. Does LA County have control over incorporated cities or unincorporated? Because you're either corporated or you're unincorporated. Yes. To answer your question, yes, they do. So how it works is if you're in the city of LA and you're not governed by LARSO and you're not governed by statewide rent control, then you climb up out of the city you're in, and then the county's rules kick in. Okay, that's how it works. It's kind of like a totem pole. First, it's the city, and pay attention, you guys, because this counts with everything. I'm talking about animal control, unauthorized pets, municipalities and their rules. Okay, your municipalities is whoever governs you, city, county, state. Okay, So it starts in your immediate area, in your city. What controls you? If nothing controls you, you climb out of your city, and then you got to see if your county controls you. If your county doesn't control you, then you got to climb up a little further and see if your state controls you. Make sense? LAPD doesn't come out unless you're dying. Wait, they come out if you're dying? I thought they only come out after you're dead. I'm just playing. I hear you though. They don't come out. And that's why. Patty, I apologize, but my phone only rings when I'm trying to watch this. So I did not hear if you answered my question. I'll rewatch the rerun later. Okay, hold on, Anna, and I'll go back. I get that you guys are busy working and things happen. So wait until June 1st, police report years old. It's got to be recent police report, not within the year, like right now. Okay. June 1st is unauthorized occupants, unauthorized pets, and failure to allow entry is what you can evict for in June 1st. If you have a nuisance going on with police reports as a property now, you may be able to evict them. We are
Oh, I might want some lighter pan.
are having their investment properties held hostage. It's bullshit. I'm so sick of hearing these owners that are struggling because the tenant is utilizing the system to their advantage. And a lot of the times I'm seeing this as a 50-50 shot. They're not using it to their advantage. They're just being an asshole because they can. They're doing it and they don't live there. They live somewhere else, but they come over here just enough to be a thorn in their side. I don't understand why people have that mentality, especially when a landlord does nothing but try to help you all the way to the point where they've exhausted their resources and we get frustrated. We do. We are human. Okay. Is it, Anna, let me go back and see if I can find your question. Hang on. Anna. Patty, on a rental agreement that specifies the address of where the resident is to pay rent, is it okay to use a Dropbox? Yes, it is. Your problem comes in on a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit, and monitoring that Dropbox to see if rents were paid in a timely manner. So when you do it that way on a 3-day notice, your 3-day notice becomes a longer notice because then it's 3 days plus 7 days to allow for mailing. You see what I mean? So it comes a little tricky and it can cause you more stress, but it happens to you on a 3-day notice, not in your lease contract. Does LA County have control over, okay, we explained that. LAPD doesn't come out unless you're dying. No, they don't even come out then. I'll wait till June 1st, police report years old, need recent police report within the year. In LA, you need a police report within the last 30 days. Patty, I apologize. My phone only rings when I'm trying to watch this. Girl, mine too. You guys see me. I'm like, wait, somebody's calling me. Suppose some rentals are deposited in, or rents are deposited into a Dropbox and the Dropbox gets stolen. Who will be responsible? I'm going to make this simple. They didn't put cash in your Dropbox. Okay. Usually it's checks. They can replace them. Money orders also traceable. So who's responsible? The burden of proof is going to fall on the tenant. In other words, they say they paid you and you never received it, right? You following me? So if they say they paid you and you never received it, the burden of proof is going to fall on them to prove that you cashed the check or the money order. You with me? And this is why we don't play with cash, folks. You get it? Okay. It is them using emergency powers or just because they have power over corporate cities. Okay. I'm going to explain to you the difference between a corporated city and an incorporated city. Okay. An unincorporated city means when they developed and designed that city, they didn't have enough funds to have their own police department, their own city hall. You following me? So instead, they had to use the county's resources with their sheriff's department and the county, okay? Because their city, when they built their city, they didn't do it as a corporation. So they are unincorporated, meaning they use the the county's resources. They use the sheriff, not a local police department. Okay, you with me? So that's how they're controlling the unincorporated cities, because it falls under the county because they use the county's resources. They don't have their own. And I hope by me explaining it that way, it answers your question. If it doesn't, ask me again and I'll try to explain it in a different way. Because I want you guys to understand what's happening and why it's happening so that you understand it better. Patty, if we put the property for sale and the tenant doesn't allow entry for showings come June 1st, we can technically evict in LA County. Yes, but you need something current. In other words, and watch my words closely, if you've been trying to gain access and you can't do anything, we can't evict. Okay, I got you. Hang on. Hang on. I don't know if I can today. I'm trying. Hold on. We'll get it. I'm working on it. I can't. I'm trying.
So I believe you, and I've read your sentencing hearing in each one of these cases for which we had transcripts.
Okay, you guys, I suck. I can't. I'm gonna try them one more time.
Cases you read from the same script. So in each of these cases, you say that the distribution of child pornography is an extremely serious federal crime.
No.
And you point out the crime involves people who are taking pictures.
Your
and
internet's
videos of
gone.
real children while the
We're
children
down.
are being sexually abused.
Somebody has their TV on in the background. Keep
Yeah,
getting that.
and it's loud.
Images of children and sexually compromised.
Somebody has to mute themselves. It's not talking.
I'm reading from you on the bench. And most importantly, the children.
Okay, somebody's got their TV on and I'm trying to filter out your TV because we can hear it and it's bad. If you can hear me, can you turn your TV off?
For the pleasure of the people filming them and for the gratification.
Now I'm upside down. Do I look upside down to you guys? Look, oh, this is really gonna mess some people up.
Children who were being abused in this way. You read this script in every one of these cases. So you talk about that.
I'm trying.
Maybe you can mute everyone.
Can't. I can't. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, let me try that. I'm trying. Meeting settings. I'm there. Ah, I found it. Hold on. Ha, you guys love me. I did it. And I'm blonde. Okay, we got to go back this way. Sorry.
I have a question if you can
Okay,
hear me.
let me go back and answer our questions now.
Can you hear me, Patty?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
My question, again, I'll try to rephrase it. So LA County just extended the moratorium. They come up with this stringent
Yes.
moratorium till the end of the year or till June of next year. My question is, are they doing that using their emergency powers? Because their moratorium extends not only to incorporated cities, also to corporated cities that have our own rules. So right now, the county's rules are superseding our corporated cities. Are they doing this using
The
emergency?
county's rules. Yes, they made a moratorium based on the emergency. That's why they're trying to repeal it, because the CDC says that COVID is no longer a threat to our nation.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Kind of. So, you know, the LA County.
Okay, when you have, let me take this into a whole different perspective, okay? Just because it'll help you guys all understand better, I think. If you have a problem at your property regarding a pet, Okay, and let's say that this is an aggressive breed dog and it's over 45 pounds. First, we have to check to see what the city's rules are. Because when it comes to restrictions, that's the first thing that restricts us is what our city's rules are. If the city doesn't have a rule there, then we're gonna go to the county to see if the county has a rule, because that's how they govern us, okay? Federal law sits way up here, state law about here, county law about here, city law about here, and we're at the very bottom of the totem pole. So if we can go up and avoid the city, then the county catches us. If we can't, if the county doesn't catch us, the state will catch us. If the state doesn't catch us, the federal government catches us. You get me?
I get you.
So it's called,
Yeah,
it's called our municipalities, and it's the county that is controlling you.
right, using emergency powers right now.
Yes,
Correct,
that's what a moratorium is. It's an emergency rule.
Because our city of Whittier, we have our own laws, and they mirror the state's law.
Yeah, and the problem in Whittier is West Whittier, East Whittier, South Whittier, and North Whittier are
Right.
all unincorporated, and only the city of
Right.
Whittier is incorporated.
Well,
I understand that.
That's what I'm referring to, the city of Whittier, the incorporated city of Whittier. So we're under the emergency powers that the LA County supervisors have right now. They're controlling us with all this, no evictions, no raises, no nuisance evictions. So as soon as this emergency is lifted, we're back to our own governing. Am I correct?
Back to business as normal. As soon as the temporary law, that's what a moratorium
Moratorium
is.
does now.
It's a
Okay.
temporary law. Okay, so as soon as the temporary law expires, all your regular rules kick in.
The city
I'll give
rules,
you-
right?
Well, let me give you an example. In the city of San Bernardino,
Mhm.
the pandemic officially leaves the entire county on the last day of this month, when the state law AB 842 expires. No, that's not the number. 832.
1482. No,
Or is
no,
it
yeah, 832.
838?
No.
No, it's 832 or 838. And you guys, I have a lot of civil codes stored in here. So it's 832. It's AB 832. That's what currently governs the whole state of California. Okay.
Gotcha.
That is set to expire on the last day of this month. When it expires on the last day of this month, LA County and LA City have additional moratoriums that are already in play, so they will now control. In San Bernardino County, we go back to business as normal.
We go back to normal.
On April 1st,
On
it doesn't
April
pay
1st.
their considered delinquent. I serve a 3-day notice expires. If they don't pay, then I can do an eviction for non-payment of rent just for the month of April. Were you paying attention?
Well, you froze there, but yeah, I got your gist of it. You guys are back to normal this April 1st. So, but I'm,
April 1st, we're back to business as
you-
normal.
another-
I like to call it BC, before COVID.
yeah, okay. So I'll just keep crossing my fingers to the emergency is lifted or a
There's
judge
a
lifts it.
lot of lawsuits against this. What they're doing to us is unethical.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's me talking. It's and I get the why behind it, but I don't agree with it. Does that make sense? The why behind it has to do with one fact and one fact only.
Certification. Self-certification.
No.
What?
Do you want to know what the why behind it is?
Yes.
Heavily populated areas come with heavy restrictions for landlords.
But,
Los Angeles is a metropolis.
but
So is San Diego.
our city of Whittier is a small little corporated city. We're small.
They looking at the county, honey, just like when the city of just so you guys know, the city of San Diego operates very similar to the city of Los Angeles. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand that. And remember, when LA County got the huge moratorium on them for COVID, so did all of San Diego County. Heavily populated areas come with heavy restrictions for landlords. No joke. They're both metropolises. We had the same problem in San Jose and in San Francisco. go. Guess why? They're also metropolises.
Okay, so another question real quick while I have you. Okay, so once the moratorium is lifted, the emergency powers thing that the supervisors have over all corporated cities is lifted. Do these 5 supervisors have power over corporated cities? No
Yes.
emergency powers, no emergency powers. Just can they start setting laws for cities like Cerritos and Lakewood? and
Yes.
Whittier?
Yes.
We have our own council and our own mayor and our own rules.
And that mayor could change those rules if they want to. Example, City of Long Beach tried to start their own form of rent control. Does this sound familiar? City of Santa Ana just implemented one.
No, I get that. Of course that our mayor and our city
So-
council can make their own laws or regulations. I'm asking you, to the 5 supervisors, county supervisors, can they start making rules directed at incorporated cities? I know they control incorporated cities. I know they control unincorporated Whittier, unincorporated
Unincorporated,
Puente.
but they can't.
Uh-huh.
Let me ask you a question. Can the state send a law that affects all of us?
Of course.
So can the county. Next question. Get it?
So our council and our mayor is useless as long as we have these 5 supervisors here.
That's why you have a lawsuit against the mayor.
Well, the mayor of Los Angeles controls the city of Los Angeles. The mayor of Los
Correct.
Angeles does not control Whittier.
Right.
But
So there is a
supervisors.
lawsuit against the county of Los Angeles for what they're doing.
using their emergency powers, right?
But for what? CDC says that COVID's no longer a threat to our nation. So what emergency?
No, I get you that, but once there's no emergency, my question to you, Patty,
Is
is
can
that,
individual cities and counties have their own rules? Yes.
no. My question to you is, to these 5 supervisors, county supervisors, can they start making rules that affect our city?
The
not gonna make-
unincorporated cities? Yes, they can.
Because I know they have very stringent rules controlling their unincorporated cities. Can they start controlling corporated cities with their own mayors and cities? Can they, like right now, they make it
Possibly, yes.
possibly.
If
Okay.
the county board of supervisors is in charge of the whole county, then they make the rules for the whole damn county.
My understanding is they have control over incorporated cities, which there's a bunch of. We even have a part of Whittier that's
Yes.
incorporated, but
Yes,
they don't have any powers towards corporated cities, do they?
unincorporated, they have complete power
course,
over.
of course.
Incorporated, not so much. But if the county passes a rule, it affects everybody. They're deferring incorporated versus unincorporated. So they're actually being less restrictive than they could be. They could just put the bubble on the whole county. Does that make sense?
No.
Do
No,
we all think that they should be holding targets at the local shooting range? Yes. I mean, it's extremely frustrating. And I'll be honest with you guys, I never thought in a million years, we, the land of the free, because of the brave, would have our government come into my house, go into my safe, pull out my legal written binding contract between myself and my tenant, eliminate my late fees, change when my rent is due, and cause me great financial hardship in the meantime. Yes, there is a lot of these acts and expirations, and it is extremely confusing. And I think that's part of the problem, is they've inundated us with so much bureaucracy and bullshit. We don't know how to see through it or how to filter it out or how to figure it out. And I'll tell you this, the attorneys are having just as much trouble trying to figure out their way to move around these restrictions as well, because they are, I don't even have a word for what's happening. I think being held hostage with your own investment is a great way to put it, because that's how I feel in one of my own investment properties. I feel like I'm being held hostage and there's nothing I can do but shoot them. And it's still not legal.
Patty, this lawsuit of AGLA against Los Angeles, what do they hope to accomplish? We landlord never get anything
They're
back.
trying to repeal these moratoriums.
Yeah, but by the
Basi-
time.
By the time it
decision-
gets to trial, then
It's on.
yes, you hear it, I hear it, everybody hears it, but we're fighting with everything we got, you guys. We have to. I mean, it's so
I-
frustrating to hear these horror stories and what some of these tenants are doing to take advantage of this situation. It's mind-boggling, mind-boggling. Okay, our brand new Section 8 tenant moved in a week ago, just moved in from out of state for her mental health. Oh, shit. Why on God's green earth would you come move to California for your mental health? Realize that the neighborhood is a bad and violent one. I honestly didn't realize it was that bad. With 2 drive-by shootings and a murder in the week she has been there, she now wants to know about moving. Honestly, I don't know how the property manager rented to her, a fragile young girl on her own, because we can't discriminate. That's why the property manager rented to her. If it's seriously a bad area, and this is me talking to you, okay, a murder, 2 drive-bys, that's a problem. And what if that was your daughter? Could have used her teeth. You would want them to let them out of the contract and let them go, especially if it wasn't the best of neighborhoods. Don't want to hold their foot to the fire. There's a responsibility we have. People ask me all the time, what's the difference between illegal and unethical? Illegal means it's against the law, and unethical means it's not right. So if there truly is a problem, she's not familiar with this area at all, and she's coming from another state, yes, I would do the same thing. I would let her out of her contract and tell her to go back to whatever state she came from. And I hope she loved her visit here in California, but it's time to go. This isn't a place to come to fix your mental health, okay? Just saying. But yeah, I would let her out. But what do I do about paying the property manager then for the lease? Do you have a lease break fee? She's responsible for the rent and your monetary damages until the property is re-rented. And you can't do a rent increase when you do it that way. Got it? So if tenant A is in a contract and you have to help them because you're the landlord or the representative for the landlord, you have to help them. No joke. So they want to move out, they need to move out for whatever reason, and they give you notice, you have to do everything within your power to re-rent this property as quickly as you can. You put an ad in the newspaper, you need to advertise it, you even need to lower the rent, $25 a week until you find a tenant there. You have to go above and beyond to find the new tenant. You can't hold them hostage, okay? Although they do it to us, but you can't do it to them. You also can't do a rent increase, okay? You're trying to help this person, not hinder them. Help them get out of their contract for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, we need to bring ethics back. Just because we can doesn't mean we should, you guys. You let her out of the contract, she's responsible then to pay for any releasing fees. It just depends on the term of your contract. Any expenses that the owner would incur by her moving. So if you have a leasing commission that would need to be paid, she would have to owe that leasing commission. Just depends on what your contracts say, okay? Which is why we should all join LA County in the landlord meeting on 3/31 and voice our situations. Absolutely. These representatives will be responsible for all of the LA County foreclosures. We don't have 18 months of savings. Exactly. And even if we did have 18 months of savings to help us, when you're dealing with a multifamily dwelling, 18 months of savings might only be on one unit. When you got multiples, it sucks. And yes, we need to have our voices heard. All right, do you guys have anything else? I'm trying. Make sure I answer everybody's questions. All right, you guys, I'm gonna get off of here. Have a wonderful week. If you guys need me, you know how to find me. Get ready for April Fool's Day. And remember, we are doing nothing on April Fool's Day. Because the rent's not due yet, or it's not delinquent yet. It's just due, right? Thank you. Thank you to everybody. I will see you next week. And we'll go from there. And don't forget Pasadena Trade Show in May. I will be there on the main stage talking, and I'd love to see you guys. I haven't seen you guys in like years. It sucks, but yes, please, let's get together. All right, you guys, don't miss the Agla Trade Show. I will be there. Have a great week. Bye.